Everything men say, it's about projection or jealousy, them hating themselves, and at their job. Okay, so I don't know if y'all saw this, but Margot Robbie just came out saying that one of the producers of Oppenheimer asked her to release Barbie later. And just say a producer, she named him Chuck. We knew that Christopher Nolan was like mad that they were sharing a release date because Christopher Nolan doesn't know how to write. Okay, I'm gonna get to Christopher Nolan in a minute. But literally one of the producers called her and was like, I think you guys should move your date. And she said, I was like, we're not moving our date. If you're scared to be up against us, then you move your date. I love that. That's such a boss move right there. And he was like, we're not moving our date. I just think it'd be better for you to move. And she was like, we're not moving. Apparently Christopher Nolan, not only because he just like has the audacity to make 3-hour-long movies still, along with that Ridley Scott dude or whatever, like how does anyone sit through this Napoleon or any of this crap? 3 hours is too long for a movie and only men have the audacity to do that. But we know that he was really attached to it being released on a certain date. Like, apparently he was like, has some superstition about the 21st, whatever. Doesn't matter. And I think actually it was Margot's idea that they just released, like that it'd be a good pairing or whatever, which it was. We know men, right? We know that men do not support our work. They don't care about our stories. Not all men, okay? But in general, they don't read our books. They don't watch our shows. They don't listen to our music. And that is why they're dead inside and don't understand us. Or literally anyone outside their own lived experiences, right? That's part of the change, guys. If you actually want to know women, care about women, and not feel so awful, perhaps you should read books and watch stories written and directed and created by and for women. Same goes for white people, by the way. I would argue, knowing women, and even looking at the statistics, a lot of women saw Oppenheimer who wouldn't have seen it because they were paired as like Barbenheimer, which also was pretty offensive. And Japanese people were like, what the hell? Barbie and a movie that glorifies a white man creating a thing that changed the world and destroyed people. And by the way, that bomb was dropped on the U.S. soil first in New Mexico. Did a whole story on that back in the summer. The U.S. always starts its warfare on its own people, especially Black and Indigenous people, first, before we go terrorize people abroad. This is another reason why we should always be concerned about what our military is doing now, abroad, like right now, because they're going to do it again on us. Anyway, I myself did not see Oppenheimer because I have no desire and it sounded quite boring. And because of other problematic things I'm going to get into in a minute. But a lot of people saw Oppenheimer because Barbie was sold out. In fact, 6% of the people who watched Oppenheimer, according to one survey, it's probably more, did so because Barbie was sold out. And because they'd been paired together, well, if you can't watch the one you came for, let's watch the other one everyone's talking about. So they made at least $5 million extra just because people couldn't get into Barbie. Women have notoriously supported men's work, gone to men's work, thrown money at men's work, and been like, wow, great. And men are notorious for not doing that. So Oppenheimer, I would argue the only reason why it was so successful, despite it being 3 hours of stuff about a man, because a lot of women who went to go see this were trying to also support this. I mean, if we get anything from that whole message, like Rolling Stone says, Barbenheimer asked, who ruined the world? Men. I went and saw Barbie with Anthony, my husband, as one of our dates. And it was funny. I was actually really surprised at how funny it was. I enjoyed myself. Anthony loved it. He cried. He cries at Disney movies. He's the crier. I'm like the one who's dead inside. Mostly because of trauma from men, by the way. Blah. But, you know, it was fun. What I wasn't expecting was to see so much of this guy. As much as I love looking at him, and as funny as he is, men got just as much screen time, if not maybe even a little more. Probably not more, but just as much. This was Ken's story just as much as Barbie's, which was shocking to me because the press tour was not giving off that energy. It was like Barbie's the star and he's just supporting her. No, it was about how much this Ken cell sucks. I hate this guy. I did some videos on that. I'm not going to rehash that. But seems like I'm not the only one who was kind of surprised that Ryan Gosling's the star of that movie. But that doesn't surprise me because it wasn't just written by a woman. It was written by her husband too. Now he has a long career in his own right, very successful, but he's the guy who wrote this about his own life. And if he is really who this man is, this man sucks. Whatever. I also believe that men can grow and change if they really want to and care enough to. Despite all my valid criticisms of Barbie, I did enjoy it more or less. It's fun. And it showed that women can make movies and they can be wildly successful compared to the movies men make that are boring. They're so dehumanizing of women. I'm sorry, but like Christopher Nolan, great storyteller, wildly white male centric. To a shock to nobody. I mean, that you could say that about most men in Hollywood. He's been known for the dead wife problem. All of his movies center around men, white men in particular. If they involve a woman at all, it is usually that she can end up dead to serve the story. Dude's obsessed with dead wife. Reminds me, I still owe you a video on Inception. This used to be one of my favorite movies, but I can't unsee how much Cobb sucks. The real villain in that story is his poor dead wife. She's the bad guy. How do you make her the bad guy? Oh God, okay, I gotta do a video on that. Unlike Barbie, that within 7 minutes and 35 seconds, a man was speaking and it did not involve a schmeg scene. No women speak in Oppenheimer for at least 20 minutes. And then with like that, it's a schmeg scene. Despite Christopher Nolan being like, well, we had to have women in this story. We didn't do it without exploring the relationship with the women in Oppenheimer's life. Women never spoke to each other, and they didn't have anything other than involving men. So this is a great piece for Vogue about just how awful this movie is towards women. It also includes how, historically this movie is even BS. It excludes all the women that were a part of that whole Manhattan Project. Here's one article you can read about that. There's plenty out there. But as one critic said, the women in Oppenheimer were there to release Oppie's tension. And that's about it. Even when dealing with his, alcoholic wife, he just comes in and swoops in and saves the day. She's a bad mom. Doesn't bother asking what brought his wife to this point. When did her alcohol dependence begin? Does she regret marrying this dude? Why is she so miserable? Why is she losing her crap? Could it be because he sucks? Nolan doesn't care. In 3 hours of filming, he could have dedicated a little bit more to character development for women, but he doesn't do that because he doesn't care. Like most men in Hollywood, he just doesn't care. You know who he did care about? Casey Affleck. One of Matt Damon's besties and Ben Affleck's little brother. He gave him an opportunity to make a comeback. Yeah, Christopher Nolan, who could not be bothered to write anything, do a script that has women being anything other than just props for a man, did care enough to give this dude a comeback moment and co-sign Hollywood embracing this poor tortured soul again. Wait, what did Casey Affleck do? We always forget. This is in the Daily Beast. It's a great read. Like most men in Hollywood, he blamed alcohol for all the stuff he did. Just like Brad Pitt, John Hamm, all the men I've been talking about recently who hide behind addiction. I'm not saying they don't have addictions, but I have empathy for addictions. All right, as somebody who struggled with them myself, no empathy for men who hide their abuse behind addiction and try to justify their unbelievable behavior, their terror on women, their essay, their domestic violence, and all kinds of other crap, torturing the whole set of the movie you were making, Casey, and be like, well, I had an alcohol problem, but I'm good now. Fuck off. What he did. He said, we're doing a ton of partying on the film set. It's not my fault. Guess where he got to talk about this? After staying silent after all those Me Too allegations, he was silent. And then this forker, I'll know how I feel about this dude. Had him on. He could explain himself, Casey's film that he was making. It was confusing for everybody. Deliberately so. Intentions were to have the crew be a part of it, which is weird. Y'all, I worked on crew for a long time in the film industry, in the art department and other ones. I know how film sets roll. It was a big mess. Something I'd never do again. I'd be smarter, more sensible, more sensitive. The reason we found out about this is because two of his female colleagues sued him. This dude was drunk, crawling into bed with his coworkers, people he had power over. He created a hostile work environment, instructing a crew member to display his all kinds of stuff. Go read the thing on it. Google it. I dare you. No, he's a big boy. He admitted he was unprofessional. It was hard for him not to talk about it, but he did so out of support of the Me Too movement. Y'all, everything men say is projection, a lie, insecurity, jealousy, or something else. It's usually not in support of us. Whether it's in the professional setting or in our own home, men have not been conditioned to give a crap about our point of view, our well-being. Unless they've done a lot of work on themselves, it's always about their own.